And we are back here on KUAM News Facebook and the Breeze 93.9. Let's jump into the KUAM News Zoom room again here, where we have Democrat Senator Sabina Perez and Minority Leader Senator Telo Taitague, where we saw in session yesterday. There's an interesting bill, Senator, that dealing with cables, undersea cables, all kinds of cables that come into Guam. And I didn't even know, but apparently it's very, very cheap to run cables into Guam. And this is, it could be revenue that we're missing out on, right? And so I think it's interesting that we have a bipartisan effort to kind of support this, to re-examine, how, I mean, I'm sure the businesses that are running cable into Guam love it. But we could be getting more bang for our buck, right? So good morning, Senators, and let's just go into it. Go ahead, Senator Tello.
Yeah, Viva Santa Maria and Carmelin first, and good morning, Chris and Sabina and Jason and the KUAM family. I'm still kind of choked up just watching this video, and it does really mean a lot to the people of Guam, and she has been our protector, for a lot of us. I mean, you look at the numbers too, compared to what's happening in the U.S. and around the world. She's always been there for us, and there is no doubt in my mind that no matter what party you are, or even what faith you are, at this point, you have to acknowledge the fact that she has been on Guam protecting us for all these years. And the one time we decided not to acknowledge her, we all know what happened then. Like, hey, you guys forgot me.
Right, yeah. Well,
how dare you?
Pretty sure that'll be the last time.
Hey, you know what they say about scorning a woman?
Yeah, definitely. And we see that a bit in the legislature, too.
Actually, thank you so much about with regards to the cables, submarine cables. It is really important. And right now we're looking at other ways to diversify ourselves as far as economic growth on Guam besides tourism. And we need to look at these other avenues, not just that, but to also retrain our community in other areas such as nursing, teaching, and construction, all those areas. But there is also that low-hanging fruit that nobody's ever paid attention to because of fear of, okay, what ramifications will it cause? Well, Guam has not only been a strategic location for the military, but it has been a strategic location for telecommunications, and submarine cables. And I'd like to thank Senator Sabina Perez, who is the committee chair oversight and who helped with this bill. We worked together on it. We had 2 public hearings on it. Of course, we had feedback on the first bill, and that was not, some issues. So we corrected it and changed it up and turned it into a task force that would review all this information. We included people such as Reverend Tax Gita, who will be the oversight chair of this task force, as well as the University of Guam that can provide additional research and data that they've already been doing. So it's been, everyone keeps talking about this fiber optic cables, the advantages we have, but nobody's doing anything about it. So I think this task force basically codifies it, mandates it, that we put this together and discover it. And there's about 11 submarine cables in Guam coming into Guam right now. We are probably one of the largest areas where submarine cables are connecting from the US to Asia. We're about number 2 in the Pacific. And we are so strategically located because of this seismic issues in the Northern Pacific that Guam becomes really relevant when it comes to laying these cables. And today, I think, telecommunications, they're selling speed. It's all about how fast. And, Jason, I know, is just listening to this because I know he's a techie guy, but it's really all about speed. That's what you're selling. And when a cable is laid and it hasn't touched base for a long, certain amount of miles, it loses its energy. So when it stops at an area which is called a boosting station, it reboots and then pushes out faster. So you're getting cables coming from the US, directly, or Hawaii, and we're 7 hours by flight, so you can imagine the how long it takes, for it to reach to a boosting station. So plus Guam is basically a very stable environment. It's a US territory, unlike any other sovereign countries. And people would say, like, oh, we can go to Palau or we can go to Chuuk or those other areas, but their infrastructure is not very solid like Guam is. And, Guam is, US territory, which basically we have a lot of laws in place, and, we're a stable government, put it that way. We're basically a stable government. So that's where you want to
Basically.
Can you kind of break down, so this task force is created, they conduct this feasibility study. I guess at the end, how do we benefit from this?
Also, could you let Senator Sabina talk?
Oh yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm
messing. I'm sorry.
They're the support part.
I'm so sorry. That she can answer that question for you. Sabina can answer that one. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about
Senator
this.
Telo, don't apologize.
Yeah, so definitely Senator Telo has put a lot of work into this. I do support this effort. Like she said, it's an untapped potential, and we have high concentration of cables coming into Guam. And, I think the, how can we benefit? I think that still remains to be negotiated, right? And I think really we need to think big because this is a 25-year plus project. And, I always feel that land is one of our most valuable assets, and we've always undervalued it. We've always ended up in the short end of the stick when it comes to valuing our land. And, I'm sure there's a lot of stories that we can share about that, from the military, from, even private sector. We don't value the land as much as we should. And so, considering the situation that we're in, I could see this potentially, and leveraging this type of investment to, educate our people and bring up a new industry. And I'm not just talking about the hardware, right? The hardware is one part of it. The other part is what's going through those cables. We're talking about technology, which is changing very quickly. And one of those things is artificial intelligence. Having our people being the manufacturers rather than the consumers. I think that is something that we need to really look at in this task force. How can we develop our workforce so that we can become the producers of this technology and also the guiders of this technology? There are the potential, negative impacts of artificial intelligence. And, I think it's important that we're aware of, some of these impacts. So we're moving along with consent and understanding. So, there's a lot to be learned. I think there's so much to understand. And this task force is a good starting point, I believe. So right. I think, imagine not just having internet service for everybody, but now developing an economy that, look at Singapore. Singapore is an island that doesn't have much resources, but its people and its position, its location are one of the most valuable assets. And I think, we can become like a Singapore where we are, producing and, an economic force to be reckoned with. So it's really, we need to expand our imaginations, and not only that, but also to work hard towards achieving those aspirations.
What I was wondering is, Senator Tello, this is a great find, right? A way to kind of, and I don't know if it entailed you just kind of looking at a bunch of different areas, different laws, different policies that haven't been updated in God knows how many years. But I feel like it's a good way to kind of shake that revenue tree. Are you looking at other areas maybe that we might have overlooked where, some of these big off-island, multinational corporations are, getting a little too much of a break?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that we also ensure that whatever we do in economic growth, that our environment is protected too at the same time. We don't want to bring things in here that's going to jeopardize our natural resources. But there's some areas, but like I said earlier, I think it's more of retraining our community, and giving them incentives to go into areas other than tourism. And that is, because we've experienced what would happen if our tourism would fail us or nobody comes to Guam. So I think now's the time to realize that and the importance of it. So retraining by incentivizing individuals to go into the construction company, into healthcare, teaching, there are other areas on Guam that we can motivate people on Guam to go into.
Well, yeah, and that's
And it's not easy.
Go ahead.
It's not easy. I might be able to say that, okay, we can all incentivize and put it in there. There's a lot of work that it takes to do that. I'm not, it's not just saying it, it's actually getting up and doing something, finding a plan, that would actually work to help individuals, because women have a difficult time because they're usually at home taking care of their kids. Sometimes you can't afford to go to school because you're working at this one job that you're on paycheck to paycheck to try and sustain yourself at home, paying the bills, the rent, the power, food, and you want to better yourself, but it's very difficult, to do that. It's easily said than done. So what we need to do as a government is to assist those individuals to take that fishing pole, and learn how to fish instead of just giving them the fish.
Well, aside from Bill 56, moved to the voting file, Senator Perez, another one of your bills, 314, that was also moved to the voting file, right? If you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah, the bill basically incorporates forest lands into the anti-arson laws, or the arson laws. And so that would basically enable prosecutors to prosecute kind of wildfire, arsons. And so this was basically produced or developed under the guidance of Bureau of Statistics and Plans, the Office of the Attorney General, and Department of Ag. They see this as very important to be able to prosecute these wildfires. And yeah, so basically, it was a bill that was developed by them and in support of them. And over 6,000 acres are burned annually on Guam, and it's not only a threat to property and people, but also to our native ecosystem. Burns our endangered species, it burns our forests, but not only that, once the vegetation is burned, then it's more vulnerable to erosion, which also can destroy our coral reef ecosystems. And what was interesting about when we had the public hearing, some of the testimony that was provided is that those that burn are doing it for poaching reasons. So they use it to burn to make the deer more visible, and then they can catch them. But a lot of it, there was a connection to drugs too, because in the testimony that was provided, that some of the poachers are doing it to sell the meat to obtain drugs. And so that's in addition to the original bill that was introduced. So what I added into the bill was this restorative justice concept, where those that burn would have to provide service to reforestation, and that was recommended by all the parties at the public hearing. Every time they reforest, so basically every 3 acres that are burned, 1 acre survives. And so the amount of effort and money that goes into reforestation is about $75,000 per acre. And I think it was important to connect that restorative justice element to maybe opening the eyes of those that are burning to how much resources are being wasted. So hopefully this would help those efforts. I know it's we're in the middle of a rainy season, but it's as we know, climate change is creating these patterns where there's large floods. It's basically our rain is coming down more in bursts, and that could definitely exacerbate the erosion issue.
Yeah.
When there's fires and and after
Yeah.
their fires.
I don't know, Senator, but planning ahead for arson during the dry season, during the rainy season, at least somebody's planning.
Right. And speaking of reforestation, I've gone out with Austin Shelton from UOG, and I've seen their program that they have. They got this drone. I'm not sure if they've had the opportunity to use it yet, but we went to somewhere down in Iran, I want to say, by the landfill, and he showed us the success of their reforestation program, and then what they plan to use the drone for, where they were going to drop the seedlings into the areas where, or to reforest the land. I forgot what he called it, Badlands or something like that. So, so it's good to hear that there's a bill out there to help with this effort. But I did want to, before we let you go, because you guys are off for session today, I wanted to ask if you had any chance to review that audit that the public auditor released on the CARES Act expenditures. And it's just the first in a series of audits. Either one of you?
I know I looked at it briefly. I didn't get a chance to really dive into it. But I think what I've noticed overall is that I know back in July, they only spent like 25% of the CARES funding. So they are closing the gap on it. That's, I think, ultimately. But I think, I know the agencies that I oversee, like Department of Revenue and Taxation, I think Department of Health, I mean, I don't oversee that, but it's, just interesting how some of the monies have not been utilized in those agencies that really need to use it. That's just some of the comments that I made about that.
Well, I know that they're going to be, he's going to be releasing the audit on, I think, the COVID hotels. So that'll be interesting to see what the findings are.
Good Christmas read.
Right. Senator Taitague, have you had a chance to read the part 1 audit?
At least the summary I've had a chance to look at, as well as the comments made by the administration after that audit came out, and then from there, I think they have to a inside auditor, that was created at Department of Administration, that's the reaction too. Besides their, comment, now they reacted to having another audit, which was very, should have been done a long time ago. I mean, she even put it in the executive order, they would have a third party auditor, with these CARES Act fundings, and it never came to fruition. And then now it took the public auditor to finally, point out the, indiscretion or the areas that were in question here. So, I'm glad they're finally putting something together, but it's kind of too late. We've only got 3 weeks to go to the end of the year.
So what are we going to do? Right.
Yeah. And what are we going to do? Exactly. And are we going to, my biggest concern is make sure that we spend the money and we spend it correctly, on areas that's needed. Why still at this point that public health still didn't get as much money as that they should have gotten, only 3 million from what I gather is all they got from the CARES Act money from the 117. So it's really what did they say? A dollar short, dollar late. What is that?
Day late, dollar short, I think is how it goes.
Thank you, Chris. I knew you would know that
Yeah.
one.
There's a lot of useless stuff floating around in here, Senator. Thank you. We got to run because we got Lieutenant Governor on, but I definitely wanted to bring you guys on. I don't know if we're going to talk to you before Christmas. So,
Merry Christmas.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. We could. If you keep causing trouble, we could definitely. Senator Sabina, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris and Sabrina, for having
Merry
me us on the
Christmas.
show.
Senator Telo, I think we have Lieutenant Governor on if you guys want to say hi.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Lieutenant Governor. I don't know if you can hear us, but
Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Take care. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Senators.
Oh, he's in the car.
All right, yeah, he's in the car. I think he's Lieutenant Governor. Good